Hey everyone, Tactics here, where in this video I'll be walking you through some easy to execute PUG friendly routes to help you start out Season 2 right. I've done my best here in these routes to simplify pulls by limiting things like the number of interrupts or the potential for dangerous overlaps. Plus, I've also done my best to eliminate things like skips or just pulls that have long or dangerous groupings. Now, I'm not going to go super in depth here on the mobs or the bosses themselves, but if you are looking for content like that, I have dungeon guides actually available on my channel where everything is out right now. So click that somewhere on the screen above me or in the description below and go look at that if you are interested in guide content for these dungeons. Now, a quick disclaimer here before we get into it. Blizzard has been known to make last minute changes and adjustments to things like trash count or even mob positionings in dungeons. So if anything does get changed, obviously I can't update this specific video, but I will post a pinned comment down below so you can check for that. And I will update all of these MDT strings to make sure that the routes are still accurate as soon as possible. And if you want these strings, of course, they are down below in the description. Also down there will be my Mythic Plus spreadsheet for the season for anyone that is familiar with that from last season. I also made a whole video going over that on my channel, so check that out. And if you enjoy all the resources I make available to you guys, please do consider hitting that subscribe button if you aren't subscribed already. It's free to do and it helps me continue to make all of this content. Now, talked enough, let's get into the routes. Where to start? We've got Priory of the Sacred Flame. So we have a decent sized pull here. Something to note, these footmen literally just like smack your tank and occasionally put this defend up. If you don't stop it, it's just going to make the pulls a little bit longer. But we go to the right here and get this patrol. Watch out for this patrol and just do this afterwards. This is the priest or paladin buff, pretty beneficial to get this early on, so make sure you do that. This is the mini boss here, and basically how this works now is these mini bosses, when they die, they'll summon one of these specific guys. So this mini boss, he will always summon chainmail, and when they summon a mini boss, they run to the body of the lieutenant that you killed. So you want to kill this guy over here towards this one, so that chainmail runs down these stairs instead of these stairs, because then you can just easily pull her with these 3 footmen, make life a little bit easier. From there, you'll go up this way. You got a pull here. This patrol 6 can be kind of all over the place, so you might pull this before or after, kind of depends, but usually it's before. And then you have the pull here, and you go straight up into the next mini boss, which is going to summon Elena Emberlands over to you. And how we do this, I put the little note here, but basically you want to start by pulling Elena Emberlands with this 3-pack in the corner here. Cleave them down. Once they're dead, you can then pull her into these 2 guys over here. And that's just some extra cleave onto the mini boss. And then you can make your way and fight the boss, because now, of course, you need to fight the boss with one mini boss. This guy does have kicks. You want to make sure you have one person assigned to kick his big cast, Cinderblast, and you want to make sure you have one person assigned to kick Battlecry on the boss. All other spare kicks can go into Fireball, but even if you literally never kick Fireball, this guy is the least amount of group damage compared to the other mini bosses, which is why even in PUG groups, I recommend you fight the guy with the kick. I know it doesn't seem like something you would usually do in a PUG group. We're not going to have kick order set up, but it is actually better, in my opinion, to do this even if you don't have a good kick order. Moving into this area, basically what you can do here, I've individually set every single pull. You can kind of pull as your tank and interrupts allow here, because like a lot of these packs, there's like only one kick guy in here, but there's a couple of tank damage guys. And a bunch of paladins too. You're healing too. These guys do a lot of group damage. The Templars do a lot of tank damage. So you just kind of pull based on how comfortable your group is. It's fine to do one pull at a time here, like I put in the route. But you know, obviously, if you're more comfortable or more geared, you can pull multiple at once. And then we're going through here. Same deal in this area. If you're more comfortable, you can pull things like group 19 and 20 together, or maybe even this first pull together. If you have CDs, that kind of thing. And don't forget, these are a lot of caster mobs in here, so put a little note here. You can tag these mobs and LOS them outside of the room, just to make it a little bit easier, a little safer. You're not fighting them right next to other packs. It's easier. Clear up here so you can get rebuffed if anyone has died. But also, if anyone does die early on, you can also use this one to rebuff them. So something to keep in mind there. And then you just clear everything, fight the boss, and you're good to go. That is Priory. Let's go into meadery. So meadery has a couple buffs here. So it's got this sticky honey, which is cooking your alchemy, and it's got these flamethrowers, which are here. It says gnomes, mechanomes, goblins, Katlgar. These both kind of suck, at least for the mid-level keys. This has friendly fire on it, and it's like kind of a weak debuff. This does like almost no damage. It's percent health, so I have a feeling this could potentially be very strong if your healer picks it up on higher keys. But on mid keys, it's kind of mediocre. You can totally ignore these buffs. It's not a big deal. In terms of how we're pulling, do a big pull over in the side here with your Bloodlust, of course. The main thing is these hired muscles. You don't want to pull more than 2 of them at once, really, or more than 1 of them at once, rather. So that's why 1, 1, 1, and then Chewy. This pull can easily be combined with Chewy. The only thing you want to do is you'd stagger this because you don't want multiple of these Pyromaniacs at the same time against Chewy. So you'd pull like these 2 together with Chewy, and then you could pull this last pack after this guy dies, just because Chewy makes them immune to interrupts, and you don't want 2 of them casting on people. I recommend just going up to IPA afterwards. Do some pulls here. The main thing in this room is to be careful. I have not included this because I'm not really sure. It's like the root gets like you pull this, you're at like almost 106% count, right? So I didn't include it, but I did put a note. If you have time and you want to make the boss fight a little bit more lenient in terms of space, you can pull this pack. You just pull this pack before you pull the boss, and then you have basically this whole boss room. You still don't have this corner because these guys are here, but it does make the boss fight much easier. So if you want to do that, do that. I put the note there. It's not in the base route, but it is noted. Otherwise, going across the room, and you can see, like, if I was able to cut count without a skip here, I would have cut the count and forced you to pull this, definitely. But it's just like all this stuff is directly in your way, and you can't skip anything pretty much. Like, you're just forced to pull everything here. You're forced to pull everything in this boss room because of how the intermission on the boss fight works. So it's just, this is really the only stuff that can be quote unquote avoided. So just keep that in mind. You're running through here. You will have to jump over the railing here to avoid this stuff, but I mean, that's like an easy skip. It's not difficult to do. And then these bees you can kind of pull whenever, and then you fly up over here back to the last boss. So pretty straightforward there. Only thing to note is this pack over there. Darkflame Cleft. So this can be a little hard to read if you're not used to what's going on here. So basically, all these kobold mobs exist until you get to the first boss. None of this stuff is here. All these weird creeper mobs, those guys appear after you've defeated the third boss. So initially, it's just these kobold things. And these kobold things do disappear once you pass this area as well. So when you come back to fight the last boss, like, this pack will not be here. They will be gone. We're avoiding it. We're walking around it. And when you actually get back to this last area, there is like basically just a bunch of extra count. So if you miss something like in the minecart event, which I just have you pull everything, but obviously, you know, some things are away, some things are not tethered. So if you do miss anything in this minecart event, I have this note here as well to remind you that you can just pull some extra stuff in this last boss room before the last boss. That's just also the first boss room, and that will get you your needed count. Otherwise, pulls are fairly straightforward. This first pull is, it looks giant, but it's actually tiny. It's just a ton of tank damage from these laborers. They stack up a dot in your tank. So if your tank is feeling comfortable, you can actually chain 1 and 2 together and use that as a nice big lust pull. But that does obviously get a bit more dangerous because there's 2 casters in this on top of all this stuff. So there's a lot going on in that pull, which is why I don't recommend it in PUG, but that's something you can do if your group feels more comfortable. And then this pull is the other one, where this is like 8 casters. They're not spam casters, they have a single cast, but none of them are tethered. So you can just kind of pull like 3 or 4 onto the big lieutenant, kill them, and then pull the next 3 or 4, whatever you want to do. So you don't need to pull all of these at once. So just be aware of that. Otherwise, pretty straightforward. The minecart event is like static. I'm pretty sure it just goes like this always. I think it always goes like that. I don't know if I've ever had a different path than this one here. So you might need to have people peep out and tag mobs and stuff like that. But that is Darkflame Cleft. Rookery. Okay, we start out, need to find, there we go. We start out over here on this platform. Simple pull. Honestly, this feels kind of a waste for Bloodlust. It's really not a difficult pull. Maybe you could Bloodlust a different pull in here, but it's just like, I had to cut packs. This is kind of a free pack to add to this pull, but it's just like, you're so overcount. You're so overcount. I've done a similar thing in the boss room here. You can increase pull size, combine pulls as you deem fit, as you feel comfortable. There's 3 spam casters in this corner. I really don't want to pull this pack. The problem is, of course, that the boss does RNG now decide which direction the beams rotate in. And so I put this note up here that you should probably play up here to just make this a little bit easier on you, because then you'll never be pushed all the way over to these mobs, ideally. And then you always just reset back to up here to bring pulling those mobs. If you're scared of playing up there, even in a PUG group, you can just kill this pack again, kind of similar to Cinderbrew, where I don't really want to kill this pack because they make me, you know, 3%, 3.5% over count. But there's not really much else you can skip anywhere. Like I skip one pack over here just by hugging the wall. And otherwise, like I'm W keying through this place. So no skips. That's kind of what happened. So pull that if you want to. Again, very easy. These guys are packed into the corner. Just watch these guys do patrol here, basically like this. So don't pull them when they're right next to them. And then you go down here, just walk straight through the middle of the room. This is a double, like, really scary mob pull. These guys are both very scary mobs. And kind of what's restricting your pulling here is those mobs. So there's one guy here, and one guy here. So this has two. So if you have cooldowns, Bloodlust, you could pull them into this pack. Do a big pull there. That's probably good Bloodlust. But otherwise, you might want to do this separately because it's very dangerous, especially with the extra other random target damage. Same here. Pull these guys right into boss. They just drop circles on the ground. They also smack tanks. For some reason, these mobs smack tanks. I don't know why, but they do. And then it's pretty straightforward. Just kind of W keying down here. W keying to the first mobs. W keying getting a bunch of these small guys. You have to kill all three of these ascendants to spawn the boss. So just make sure you kill this corner pack first, because if you try and go here and then kill this guy, you're going to spawn the boss while you're killing this pack, and that's bad news. So don't do that. Make sure you do it in this order. And then you just have the boss at the end there. Floodgate. So Floodgate is, there's been a lot of routing. So Floodgate actually has a lot of flexible routing. So there's definitely going to be a lot of routes floating out here. I really like the one where you just run up this cliff initially. The only thing you're worried about potentially is this patrol, but if you accidentally butt pull this patrol, it's actually, you just do it with the pack, basically. None of these mobs are dangerous. It's just some extra tank damage, and then some circles to dodge. That's literally it. The only annoying part is this guy's hard to group, but ideally, if you just mount up and run straight up this hill, you run past this patrol. Also, I've put a note here. If you have long range CC, you can guarantee it and just have someone run up there and CC the demolitionist. And then you're not worried at all, but you can just mount up and run up here to skip it. Kill this pack. You got CDs. These blood warpers are very scary. You jump down. You can do the first boss. You'll need to get all of these stockpiles. And note that the stockpiles have been moved once since late in the PTR even. So there used to be a stockpile here. It's now moved up here. That's why the route has been adjusted to account for that. And so, you kill the boss, go up to this place. You get the stockpiles. And then there's a bunch of gliders here that you can interact with. That basically just jump on a goblin glider, and you want to go down here and you want to do this pull, and that gets you your next weapon stockpile. You go clear up here, clear all this stuff, get your weapon stockpile, come back down here. These divers sometimes patrol really close to this architect, so I just put a note here. It's not a big deal if you pull the divers into pull 7. Totally fine, not a big deal. This pull is kind of annoying. It's 3 mobs, but it's whatever. If you don't have the divers in it, not a big deal. 11. This pull is kind of scary, and actually probably should put a note here. You want to basically stagger pull again, kind of like I was talking about with Chef Chewy, where you pull these two with these guys. Once these guys are dead, you can chain into these guys. So you don't want to pull these all at once. You want to do it staggered. The other thing here, boss, and then you just walk all the way down. Make sure someone clicks on the gun to shoot on the Zeppelin. Got this pack here. These guys are also separated into packs of 3s, actually. So you can, if you don't want to, put all the kicks and the stops together on the jettisons, you can just pull them in packs of 3. Obviously, that's a lot slower, but you can do that. And then you just jump down. You got mini boss, pack, watch the sleeping guy. He actually doesn't aggro if you don't AoE him, basically. He's sleeping on this corner, so you can just chill in this area. Hug the wall here, pull these guys, and then you are done. Next up, Motherlode. We're back to some of the old dungeons now. So this one doesn't show all the little neutral mobs here on the MDT, so be aware. Try not to AoE these neutral mobs. I don't believe they give count, and they just random target fizz hit people, and it's nasty. So try not to pull them if you can help it. In terms of off-duty laborers, try and make sure your tank is pulling these mobs, because they use throw wrench on the first person. The first person that aggroes them, they throw wrench. So you want your tank to be engaging all pulls with these guys. For these guys in particular, they're all right near a bunch of the neutral mobs. So make sure just either your tank body pulls them, or your tank just, single target pulls them and then drags them over to these this big mob here. Hugging the left side here, of course. First boss. And then over in this area, we're hugging the right side, and the drills are really what's confining you. I've also kind of limited to 2 kicks here when you've got a drill, and there's a 3rd kick, I think, in this pack. But again, not spam kicks. They're just individual kicks. Same deal here. If you're comfortable, you can combine 10, 11, or you can combine 11 and 12. Just depends on your comfortability. I got a mini boss pull here. Notably, this is actually skippable with a Warlock Gate. So if you have a Warlock Gate in your group, you can Warlock up here, skip this pull, and pull more in this area. For people that played in BFA, this area was really nasty. You skipped it a lot. That's definitely not the case anymore. Definitely way more forgiving. The mobs in this area after all the changes. So much easier to pull more mobs here if you're skipping stuff there. And then we're just kind of W-king through this area, pulling this stuff here together. This might be a little close. Just make sure you lean left when you're going this way so you don't pull these three. Big pack here. And then you're pulling kind of minimally at the end here. And again, these mines do give count. So you were finishing your count in this last area essentially by killing crawler mines. So make sure you do have enough. I put one extra in here actually. So there's like one crawler mine in here, 3 in here, and then 3 in there. And you can just hug right here when you're coming up the hill, and you can avoid both these specialists pretty easily. Just want to watch. This machine does patrol, so you want to pull this specialist back to where this war machine is, and then obviously wait to go into here when this guy's gone. And then that is the last boss. Theater Pain. So another one that has like a skip near the beginning that was really common in Shadowlands, these Shadowlands dungeons. I ignored it this time because people were mad about the missed one that I put in. But basically what you can do here is you can use any kind of threat reduction. So Mind Soothe, Sap, Imprison, or Para-Rop, Sleepwalk, all that stuff. And you can skip this pack by hugging left, doing it on this leftmost contender. And you can pull this into boss. More dangerous boss fight. This guy you need to soothe, otherwise you're going to get owned, but much more efficient in terms of cooldowns and bloodlust. So if you can do that, I would definitely recommend doing that. And then what you would do instead is you'd pull these 2 bone maguses with this mini boss after you've killed the initial 2 bone maguses, because the mini boss is way more health than them. So you just chain the mini boss into these 2 when they're dead, and that gets you all the count that you are missing from not doing this. Again, I didn't put it in there. It's just, that is my advice. And then you go in, and I've just recommended Zav wing first, into the Necromancer wing, into the Abomination wing. That's just what I tend to usually do. Same deal here, like pulls like this. You can combine these pulls. Some people will pull these mobs into this guy. Just kind of whatever your group is comfortable doing. Same deal in the Zav wing. In this, yeah, I do it. Kill the Arbalist here first, and then chain to the mini boss, because the Arbalist is the most likely to nuke someone. Same deal here. This guy, I believe, cannot be. He used to be control undeadable, but not anymore. So you do have to kill this pack or skip it. But again, we're opting to not use skips, so we're killing the pack. That was something I believe people were skipping though. If you want some inspiration, and then we're going into the Abomination wing. Again, these guys were not skipping them. They basically patrol around this donut, or half of the donut, and so you can run past them. If they're over here, you can just run here down the donut, and if they're on patrolling this way, you can run around and go down. So you can skip them either side in 2 ways. So just kind of need to commit to one, and then you go down here, simple pulls, boss, and then you go back upstairs to fight the last boss. Workshop. Yes, we're at 112% count. I don't know how to fix it. I'm sorry. Basically, they added a bunch more trash in here, and like Workshop, it's not really easily avoidable. So unless you're using invis skips, unless you're using shrouds, unless you're using warlock gates, you're not going to be able to avoid a lot of this stuff. And even the warlock gate at the end is less value, because I believe it only skips this pull now. This pull is where you used to put the gate. So you can't skip everything. You can only skip this stuff. So obviously big pull in the first room now. A lot of groups are doing this in 1 pull, but I'm not going to say that for pugs. First boss, of course, and then you're jumping down here. If you were to skip anything, what you would do is you would do these 2 pulls minus this. You could skip this. That's what you would skip. If you want to skip something, this is what you can skip. If you want to skip something, the other thing you can skip, if you want to skip something, is you can skip the pack before this boss. So you can do this. But this is really like all the skips I would trust a pug with. You know what I mean? Like I don't really trust pugs to do any of these complicated skips that you're probably going to see in this dungeon on higher keys. Like you're probably going to see people like skip some of these dogs and like play the boss in like a tiny box. I don't trust pugs to do that. So I didn't include them. But if you want to skip stuff like this, you can skip this. You can skip a bunch of stuff here. That's what you can do. It's not the end of the world, because if you kill these bosses, your graveyard becomes these bosses' rooms, both of them. So as long as you don't wipe on the boss after your skip, both those skips are fine. Obviously, you can't do both of them. you can do one of them. But that's the problem with this dungeon. It's just a lot of stuff that you are forced to kill or is complicated to skip. So I don't really want to include either of those in pugs, but it should be mostly fine. I think it is a lot of count, but it's not the end of the world. The timer didn't seem too bad in here, at least on PTR testing. So hopefully it's okay once stuff goes live. But there we have it, guys. Those are my pug-friendly routes to help you guys start out Season 2 right. Hopefully you found them useful, and if you did, be sure to leave a like and subscribe for more content like it, including route walkthroughs with commentary and Liberation of Undermine boss guides, all coming very, very soon. Of course, none of this would be possible without all of my amazing Patreons, so thank you guys all so much for your support, and I'll see everyone in the next video.